Radio 100.
Tell you something, we gotta stop the violence, we gotta vote. Stop the violence and vote.
Listen, everybody, today is the first day of early voting. What I'm asking everybody to do, if you about to go early vote this morning or this afternoon, I need everybody to vote yes to issue 1. Yes to issue 1, y'all. I'm Walter Milton Sr., founder of Voice My People, SOS, Save Our Sons. We out here trying to show you how to build power from the ground up, to bring positive change that we all can live with and be proud of. And right now, what we need to do, we need everybody to vote yes to issue 1. Yes to issue 1, y'all. If you're going to vote early today, make sure when you go, you check the box that say yes to issue 1. Everybody need y'all to vote yes to issue 1. Like I said, Voice of My People, SOS Save Our Sons, we gonna be out here doing what we doing. We gonna push this issue hard. We gonna push it from now until election day, so we get all our brothers and sisters around the state of Ohio and every other state push that yes to issue 1. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. People that got felony 4s and felony 5s, that it's hard for them to get jobs, and and it's on their record, and they should have never had these felonies. It's time to bring positive change. It's time to start building powers from the ground up, y'all, to change these laws, to make these laws start working for us. Laws that have been against us for years and years and years. We got to start making these laws work for us, y'all.
Remember how the economic crash was supposed to be a wake-up call for our government? People all across the country lost their savings, their pensions, and their jobs. I'm Tom Steyer, and it turned out that the system that had benefited people like me who were well off was in fact stacked against everyone else. It's why I left my investment firm and resolved to use my savings for the public good. But here we are 9 years later, and this president and the Republican Congress are making a bad situation even worse. They won't tell you that their so-called tax reform plan is really for the wealthy and big corporations while hurting the middle class. It blows up the deficit, and that means fewer investments in education, healthcare, and job creation. It's up to all of us to stand up to this president, not just for impeachable offenses, but also to demand a country where everyone has a real chance to succeed. Join us. Your voice matters.
STMK Radio 100.
If people say your dreams are crazy, if they laugh at what you think you can do, good. Stay that way. Because what non-believers fail to understand is that calling a dream crazy is not an insult. It's a compliment. Don't try to be the fastest runner in your school or the fastest in the world. Be the fastest ever. Don't picture yourself wearing OBJ's jersey. Picture OBJ wearing yours. Don't settle for homecoming queen or linebacker. Do both. Lose 120 pounds and become an Ironman after beating a brain tumor. Don't believe you have to be like anybody to be somebody. If you're born a refugee, don't let it stop you from playing soccer for the national team at age 16. Don't become the best basketball player on the planet. Be bigger than basketball. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. When they talk about the greatest team in the history of the sport, make sure it's your team. If you have only one hand, don't just watch football, play it at the highest level. And if you're a girl from Compton, don't just become a tennis player. Become the greatest athlete ever. Yeah, that's more like it. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
sheriff, prosecutor, and judges say the ballot issue that would reduce some jail sentences and downgrade some drug offenses would put Ohio families in danger.
But supporters say would make Ohio safer and help fix Ohio's opiate crisis.
Supporters say that issue 1 would help break this cycle of incarceration and would also save taxpayer money. But those against it say it will only lead to more crime and more drugs. About issue 1, one of the most controversial issues on the ballot is heating up.
This law is bad for the communities. It's going to lead to more deaths.
We need to try something different, and this is it because Ohioans want it.
Vote no on issue 1, which would reduce some jail sentences by 25% and some drug crimes from felonies to misdemeanors.
You could have under 20 grams of fentanyl, and that is enough to kill 10,000 people. That's how powerful that drug is. It's, again, be a misdemeanor, no jail time.
Supporters says that's misleading and that offenders could still be charged with other crimes, like trafficking, as the law is meant to help struggling addicts get clean and stay out of jail, in turn saving money.
We're standing by and allowing 14 people to die a day. We're failing and have been failing to provide the adequate treatment that Ohioans deserve.
It's going to dump thousands of criminals into our community.
Get offenders the help they need so they never turn back to a life of crime.
Less prisons, more treatment, because that's what we need.
Now, issue 1 is a constitutional amendment. That's one reason Ohio's Governor John Kasich says he does not support it.
You're listening to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100 with your host, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100. 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
The headlines, the issues impacting you and your family.
Today we're looking at Ohio Issue 1, the Drug and Criminal Justice Policies Initiative. It would amend the Ohio Constitution in several ways. It would make felony 4 and 5 drug possession and drug use crimes misdemeanors with no jail time for first and second offenses. It would ban judges from sending people to prison if they violate probation with something other than a new crime, such as missing a parole appointment. It could cut prison time for offenders who complete rehabilitation programs, with exceptions for those convicted of murder, rape, or child molestation. It would take the money saved by putting fewer people in prison and use it for drug treatment and crime victim programs. And in some cases, people could petition the court to be resentenced for drug crimes or have those charges changed. You're going to hear from both sides of Issue 1 today. We begin, though, with those in favor of Ohio Issue 1.
Issue 1 is going to make Ohio safer by investing in health. For too long, we've invested in prison bars as a way to produce safety. And there are some situations where that's appropriate, but what we're seeing is our family members who are addicted, people that have been trapped by the cycle of addiction, are only getting further trapped in the cycle of incarceration. Issue 1 changes that significantly by shifting people and money that doesn't belong in the prison budget and in prison out into places where they can get better and where we can invest that money in ways that are more productive.
Those against Issue 1 say this just goes too far.
It's really important, you know, even Chief Justice O'Connor and others have acknowledged addiction is a brain disease. And if, as soon as we make that statement, as soon as we really make that shift to understanding that this is a mental health and brain disease, think about any other disease, mental health or physical health, where we threaten someone with punishment in order to get them better. There's nothing, literally nothing else that we do this with. And so it's a time to really come to grips with the fact that, in fact, the research shows that incarceration is not a way to get people better. In fact, and this is the saddest fact, you know, really even for those that are well-intentioned in choosing incarceration, you know, judges that choose to incarcerate people and threaten them with incarceration to get them better. When people come out of incarceration, 7 published studies have shown that they are 8 to 10 times more likely to die of an overdose. So we think we're saving their lives by putting them in jail for the short term, but in the long term, we've signed a death warrant. That's what happens when we choose incarceration instead of directly sending people to healing. Issue 1 will create more resources for healing in the community so people don't have to enter the criminal justice. So what Issue 1 does, that's probably the best part about it, is it shrinks the prison population safely and carefully, and then it shifts the savings over to drug treatment. So we think that we'll save about $100 million a year out of the state prison budget because we won't be sending people there. Then we require 70% of that money to be invested in local community-based drug treatment so people don't have to enter the criminal justice system in the first place. Yeah, and I'd like to unpack all the lies that just got stacked up there. The named lies by PolitiFact, by the Dispatch, by the Akron Beacon Journal. So let me lay these out. Number 1, Issue 1 does not touch trafficking, right? So what our opponents are saying is that somehow these drug traffickers are going to get off. In fact, the law about trafficking that is currently being enforced in Ohio every day of the week in every corner of the state is getting traffickers for large quantities of fentanyl like that. I talked to a federal prosecutor that just wrapped up a fentanyl trafficking case for 2 grams. Okay, so this boogeyman argument that 20 grams of fentanyl is going to somehow like get skated through and nobody's going to get any punishment is absolutely false. That's why these other news outlets have said it's false. The other thing there, though, and I think you talked in addition to how trafficking was going to work. Not true. So 11 other states in the country have reduced drug possession from a felony to a misdemeanor, and the sky has not fallen. There's no indication that there's been any increase in drug crimes, in drug use, in overdose deaths. No indication that public health or public safety is damaged by choosing misdemeanor instead of felony. That's just, again, another kind of like boogeyman in the closet argument. That's all our opponents have to rely on is fear and scare tactics. What Issue 1 is trying to do for our families is finally move past the fear of the criminal justice system and get healing when they need it. Specifically, our amendment contains a very careful formula for calculating the savings from each person not in prison, because that money then has to be aggregated. We think that there'll be approximately 10,000 fewer people in prison. Not that they'll get let out, but most of it just be averted from not going in. And because the prison population can drop so significantly, we can save that money and invest it locally. 70% of that money is going to drug treatment, 15% of the money is going to trauma recovery for crime survivors, and the last 15% is an additional portion of money just for local governments to adapt to the changes required by this amendment. So both the drug treatment money, which can go to local governments that are doing drug treatment things, even drug courts, as well as that last 15%, which is totally for local governments to adapt. All that is resources that allow the local governments to be able to handle what we're shifting here. So let's be clear, we are not decriminalizing or legalizing anything. When you take a drug possession case from a felony to a misdemeanor, it's definitely still a crime. And although jail isn't allowed in the first or second one because we should allow people a chance to rehabilitate and recover, it does allow probation. And when someone violates probation, and if they are found to be a danger to themselves or others, they are allowed to be even put in jail for that. So there's all kinds of accountability that's totally possible. In 1996, the legislature passed a bill that was supposed to reduce the prison population. It kept going up. In 2011, they did the same thing. They called it the Justice Reinvestment Initiative, and that was supposed to reduce the prison population, move money into treatment and more productive local healing practices that reduced prison population. prison population stayed steady at 50,000. 2015 to 2017, the legislature commissioned this thing, the Recodification Committee, which is supposed to rewrite all the criminal codes. My executive director spent time for 2 years on this thing. They didn't put together one piece of legislation out of that. The legislature has failed again and again and again to meaningfully reduce both the number of drug-addicted people in our prisons and the dollars we waste putting them there, and put it somewhere else. They cannot seem to get this done. They're afraid and unable to get it done. The people of Ohio need this now. 14 people, 14 people are dying per day of the opioid addiction crisis. We have to meaningfully do this. The legislature has failed, and my favorite quote out of the Ohio State Constitution is the first sentence. All political power is inherent in the people. This is the chance for Ohio voters to say yes to something past the legislators.
Up next, those opposed to Ohio Issue 1.
We'll do exactly the opposite of what the proponents are claiming it will do. It will tie the hands of judges. They will not be able to incentivize addicts to go for treatment, and people will die, because this is written in the form of a constitutional amendment. Constitutional amendments are written in stone once they are passed by the voters of Ohio, whereas a statute that is passed by the legislature can be easily modified, repealed, amended, in some way changed, and be much more nimble and much more direct in addressing a problem. This amendment is so poorly written, it is so misleading, and it is so contrary to the capacity that the state of Ohio has to do what is required in this amendment, that it is, I think, deceptive.
These groups support this issue, these are just a few. The Ohio Education Association, the Ohio Justice and Policy Center, Richard Cordray supports it, the Amos Project, and the Ohio Baptist Convention. Are all of them wrong?
I think that they are correctly motivated, that they believe, as I do, and as all of our judges believe in Ohio, that addiction is a disease and it needs to be addressed. And treatment is the answer for addressing addiction. What they miss and what they don't understand is what it takes to get an addict to go for treatment. Family encouraging them, family begging them to get treatment will not do it, because they don't have the capacity to rationally make that decision when they're addicted. SAMHSA, which is an organization that is national, that deals with mental health and drug addiction, estimates, according to their latest report, over 95% of addicts do not admit, do not believe that they need treatment. His hands are tied, literally handcuffed, in mandating treatment for someone who is a drug addict in our system. The 4th and 5th degree felons migrate into the misdemeanor category. A judge can sentence you to probation because of your misdemeanor violation, can impose the sanction of drug treatment, getting your GED, getting a job as part of your conditions of probation. And if you do not do that during your probationary period, the judge is powerless to impose more sanctions, cannot send you to jail, cannot impose incarceration. They can be reduced, including drug traffickers that are inmates in our penal system, up to 25%. That's what this amendment calls for. In reality, the prison system does not have the capacity or programming to allow 25% reduction in all of the sentences of the inmates, the 49,000 inmates in the state of Ohio. But had they had that capacity, this amendment would allow people who are guilty, let's say, felonious assault, severe injuries, aggravated felonious assault on someone, stabs them multiple times, didn't kill them, because murder and rape and child molestation are exemptions, but that person could earn 25% good time. Well, ironically, this was touted as a safe neighborhood initiative. When they were circulating the petitions to get people to sign these petitions, They touted it as being a safe neighborhood initiative, and I would argue that it's anything but a safe neighborhood. Theoretically, if 25% reduction in your sentence was truly available to people, those people would be back in the community. These would be people, that are convicted of trafficking, drugs, people, violent felons. They would be back in the community, and they would have impunity. There will be an influx because both Indiana and Kentucky have stricter drug laws. So as I have mentioned so often, you can have under 20 grams of fentanyl in your pocket, and that will, under issue 1, will be a misdemeanor. Right now, it's a felony 4, but it will become a misdemeanor. And again, no jail time, no incarceration possible for that penalty. And just under 20 grams of fentanyl will kill 10,000 people. And you can do that twice within 24 months, and the judge cannot incarcerate you. You can do that with just under 5 grams of heroin, which is enough to kill 500 first-time heroin users. You can do that and have roofies in your pocket and have the same consequence, which is no consequence.
Hey, good evening. You just heard the pros and cons of issue 1, and Sax, man, they really going in on that one. You know what I mean?
Sean, let me tell you something. I've been commenting on this for about 2-3 weeks.
Right, but before we get to issue 1, you heard the pros and cons, but we're going to change up a little bit because the all-star panel got stuck and it's raining very hard and they're coming in. But I want to say this right here. The STMK Radio 100 and Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 family want to send our condolences out to the families and everybody in PA, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Kentucky. And I want to go here for a minute because I want to talk about the hate sex, man. Last week we talked about this. And remember, Tony Stone said that you couldn't say somebody was a racist. And I was saying that when Trump came out and said he was a nationalist, and I hate to be right, okay, but I called this and I told you that when Trump embraced the white nationalist party's agenda, what was going to happen. And when he came out and declared himself a nationalist, all war was declared on anybody who opposed Trump or opposed their party.
He had his followers, people that voted for him, those that like him, whether they voted for him or not, that supports him, is listening to his message. And they're going to come out and they're going to do just what it is that he's saying secretly.
Right, but I don't think it's secretly. But I'm going to say this because I don't want nobody to get me wrong right here. I don't want nobody to get it wrong. Trump is a person who said something, and he gets up there and he throw the red meats to the crowd. And I really don't think he understands that words have meaning and consequences. So let's say this. Trump did not send the pipe bombs. Trump did not walk into the synagogue and shoot 11 people. Trump did not try to get into a black church full of parishioners and kill them and then walk down into a supermarket and kill the first 2 black people that he
But he sent his condolence.
No. He set the atmosphere for doing it, and he is the cause of it, okay? So that's what I want to tell everybody right now. America is at the crossroads, and you have a choice right now in America, and that choice is to go out Tuesday. We 5 days away from an election. Early voting is up 50%. We have walked the streets and talked to the voters. We're going to talk about that later when we go into our issue 1, and you heard the debate. You will have a chance to show the white nationalists and Trump that America is better than this.
You ain't have no part of that.
Right. We're going to talk to a Republican contributor named Steve A., and he's going to talk about this. But I look at what's going on now, the fear. It's the same thing with issue 1. Everything is fear-mongering now. They put out commercials, some of the most racial, hate-filled commercials that, you can ever heard. And I hope that the control room can pull those commercials up for us. And you're going to hear these commercials. They're talking, and these are black people also, okay? Not just white people, but black people who's putting out these hateful commercials. And they wonder why people are walking into synagogues with weapons and AK-47s and AR-15s and killing people.
It's all part of the agenda.
And if you're a police officer, you're not immune, because guess what? When that male walked into that synagogue and killed those people,
two police officers got
he came back outside and engaged the police.
Two police officers got injured in the
process. Now, this is something about the sovereign citizens and the neo-Nazis when Jeff Sessions said that activists was the most dangerous people to law enforcement officers. No, sovereign citizens and neo-Nazis is the most dangerous. And if you look at the last 5 police shootings, it was all done by either a neo-Nazi or a sovereign citizen. Okay? You look at the police officers killed. Look at the ones in North Carolina where the guy shot 7 police officers, okay? So let's get it right here when we're talking about this. This ain't a racial issue. This is an issue to let you know that when you let hate out the box, there's no control of it.
Absolutely.
And the control room is telling me they got the commercials up. So let's hear those commercials, Sax, man, and then we get right back into our issue 1 argument, and our panel should be here.
Another month of strong numbers, 223,000 net new jobs created in the month of May.
When I look at the way things are, it reminds me how far we've come.
These numbers, they are depressingly weak.
The punch to the gut. The economy is growing even more slowly than we thought.
But things are starting to change. There's more opportunity and security to invest in the ones that matter.
Look, we can't get distracted from the biggest issue, which are jobs and our kids'
But
future.
this could all go away if we don't remember what we came from and choose the right future. Because the future worth fighting for is not guaranteed.
What do you think about what's happening in Washington?
Our Congressman French Hill and the Republicans know that it's dangerous to change the presumption of innocence to a presumption of guilt, especially for black men. If the Democrats can do that to a white justice of the Supreme Court with no evidence, no corroboration, and all of her witnesses, including her best friend, say it didn't happen, what will happen to our husbands, our fathers, or our sons when a white girl lies on them?
Girl, white Democrats will be lynching black folk again.
Honey, I've always told my son, don't be messing around with that. If you get caught, she will cry rape.
I'm voting to keep Congressman French Hill and the Republicans because we have to protect our men and boys. We can't afford to let white Democrats take us back to bad old days of race verdicts, life sentences, and lynchings when a white girl screams rape.
Paid for by Black Americans for the President's Agenda. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
A few years ago, ideas that we talked about were thought to be fringe ideas, radical ideas, extremist ideas. Those ideas are now mainstream.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
What's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women?
One way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy, so please bring on the recession.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Ohio 2010. A state in shambles, without hope. That was the Strickland Cordray era. Crushing taxes, massive job losses. Now Richard Cordray is back with the same failed policies. Billions in reckless spending, raising your taxes again, threatening your job, again, taking Ohio backwards. Don't let Richard Cordray do it again.
On the phone with us now is contributor and commentator Steve. Steve, you hear the racial commercials and the 3 incidents that took place this week, the mail bombings, the shootings in Kentucky and Pennsylvania, leaving 13 people dead and 5 wounded. So tell us, where do this leave us as a country today? And what role do President Trump play in this?
It leaves us in a very depressing situation. There's a number of different aspects to it. First, when we look at Rush Limbaugh, one of the avatars of the billion-dollar anger industry, the billion-dollar conspiracy industry in this country that has infested 35 to 40% of the American people, who have, in essence, in large numbers, not all of them, but in large numbers, and this terrorist certainly amongst them, they have become fanatics. They have joined a cult of personality and a cult of shared victimhood. I think it's important to understand the connection between conspiracy and victimization and the constancy of Trump's assault on objective truth. For these people, what's true is what the leader believes is true, or says is true, or directs them to believe is true. And this is not just fundamentally illiberal, it's incompatible with a healthy, functioning democratic society. We have arrived at this dark hour because of Donald Trump. He didn't mail the bomb, and he didn't put the stickers on the envelope, but he created the atmosphere where a sick person, a criminal, somebody like this terrorist would actualize Trump's clear intent. Trump goes out every day as the tribal chief of a faction that's declared war on the majority of the country. He has called journalists enemies of the people. He has labeled opponents enemies of the state. He has made a former president, a former opponent, enemies of his movement. And this sick person or evil person, or maybe a little bit of both, decided to become a soldier in Trump's army, to kill the enemies. And what we saw was the largest mass assassination plot in American history. We haven't seen something like this since the day that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. These Trump rallies brim with menace. He makes violent intimations all the time. He was celebrating the violent assault by a congressman on a journalist just days ago. Anybody who doesn't see the clear connection between the atmosphere and what occurred here has suspended disbelief or is complicit and dishonest or is simply so brainwashed that they've stopped being able to think for themselves. Donald Trump's presidency and the cost, the degradations to our civility, our country, are coming home to roost. And we averted a tragedy of epic dimensions by good luck, maybe a little bit of providential intervention, and the fact that all of the security protocols worked. And that's the only reason.
Now, you heard that right there, and Steve hit it right on the head when he said that we averted a tragedy on that situation. So I want everybody to know that this is our pre-election show, and you have to get out and vote. If you do not vote, okay, or do what you want to do, elections have consequences, and those consequences can be very, very hurting for everybody in the community.
Me and Mama Sachs will be doing our absentee votes like we do every year. Every time we vote, we'll be sitting up in the morning, drinking our coffee, eating our breakfast.
It's not good enough, Sachs. How you know your ballot don't get lost in the mail?
Well, see, that's what we do worry about. Can I get some more volume? Because I sounded better before you turned me off.
Yeah, you got value. You got value.
I sounded way better.
You just got to speak up loud.
But that's what we do. My mother and I do worry about that. it getting lost somehow. But we take a 50-50 coin toss in there and hope that it go, because we don't want to. She's old. We don't want to stand that long at Atlanta going. So we do it at home. We have breakfast. We sit down. We do our absentee ballots. We send the stuff in together. And we sit down and talk about who we voted for and our issues. That's what we do. That's what we do in the morning.
So, I said on a panel last week, and Tony Stone is going to start going to some of this stuff also. And I did a debate, so I'm really versed on issue 1. So I don't want to be the one pushing the stuff. So what I wanted to say is this. Everybody want to know how Ohio issue 1 would change the drug penalty.
Tony Stone first.
Okay. But this is what I'm saying right here, Sex Man.
He long-winded. Get him first.
Issue 1 will change the drug law for users, okay? I want everybody to understand this. Users and dealers are 2 different things, okay? Issue 1, where if an individual is caught using or possessing drugs, will face a misdemeanor punishable by 6 months in county jail, rather than a 4th and 5th degree felony, which can last in prison a lifetime and affect the person a lifetime. Okay, I went down to FinPac. Y'all know who FinPac is? Okay.
Yeah, that's my guy. Can I say something?
Wait, hold on, John. Hold on for a
Sorry, go
minute. Okay. So I'm gonna let you in. Just give us a minute here. Okay. Now I know there's a lot of things about drug laws that everybody don't know, and then there's a lot of fear going on, and people have to understand this when we start talking about drug laws. If you listen to the pros and the cons on when they came in earlier, you heard the judge talk about people walking around with 20 grams of fentanyl, okay? Let's be for real right here, people. Fentanyl was not a dangerous drug in the state of Ohio, okay? It was a legal drug, okay? So there's no penalty on it. The governor just signed a warrant for that, okay, to make it illegal in Ohio.
For fentanyl.
For fentanyl, okay? Now, I'm going to say this as a law enforcement officer, and everybody at this table should understand. What drug abuser is going to walk around with 20 grams of fentanyl on them, and they say it can kill 10,000 people, okay? If they had 20 grams, they'd be dead. They can't handle what they taking now, okay? Some of them getting a knock shot, and we're going to talk about that 4 times a day. If they had 20 grams, they wouldn't have to leave the house. They'd be dead.
Right.
Everybody in the house would be dead. Okay? So the lawyers, I'm gonna say the prosecutor, the judges, and the police is inflating the fear. Just like Trump is inflating the fear about this caravan coming with all these people that's going to come in the country and bring smallpox and all that. They're inflating this, okay? Because if you look at the penalty, if you look at the penalties of what's going on, most drug abusers, okay, only have a rock or a nickel bag, and if they shooting heroin, they only got a shot. They can't afford 20 grams. And to say that the dealers are going to walk around and be exempt, that's just a plain lie, okay? You can have 1 rock crack cocaine. If you trying to sell that rock crack cocaine, you're getting a felony 3 drug trafficking. If you have over 20 grams of fentanyl and you trying to sell that fentanyl, okay, now you got a charge of aggravated trafficking. So that's just a plain lie to say that drug dealers are going to be walking our street and is exempt, okay? Drug dealers.
That's just scaring. That's trying to.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. Because drug dealers do not get 20 grams of fentanyl. They're not using the product. They're going to try to sell the product.
Exactly.
Okay? What makes the police mad is that if they walk up on this drug dealer and do not properly catch him trying to sell the drugs, instead of being able to put a felony on him, all they can do is put a misdemeanor on him. Okay? And that means he's not a drug dealer, okay? Because a drug dealer is only classified as a drug dealer when he's trying to sell wares. Okay,
but if he has possession of it.
Okay, possession and use is exactly what it says.
Yeah, they're gonna treat
okay, and it says it right there: using or possessing drugs. That's like if John got a crack vial in Tony's car. That's a felony 3 right now. They could charge both of y'all with a felony 3. I don't think it's fair. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, because I know for a fact, if you look at the judges right now and they're complaining about their power and sentencing laws, okay?
Yeah.
The judges have the power right now to do that, okay? Now, if
not till after issue 1 passed.
But wait a minute, hold on a second. We're not even talking about issue 1. We're talking
Uh-huh.
about right now. If we know that more white kids and white individuals abuse drugs, then why is the jail full of black individuals?
Like I said, where was the treatment when black people was? Where's the treatment for the 40 and 50-year-old crackhead?
Okay, so I'm going to say this right now,
Been on
so
crack for the
everybody
last
can understand
25,
this.
30
The
years.
Judge Nelson said it. The war on drugs started with Richard Nixon. Okay, it got a stimulus jump from Ronald Reagan. Okay, it went on steroids with Bill Clinton.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, now think about this right now. Here go a drug that right now everybody has in their house if they ever had an operation or a knee operation. They have 20 grams right now because they have maybe 50 pills, okay? Maybe 100 pills, okay, depending on your doctor, depending on your pain prescribed, okay? So think about this. You got your pill bottle on you, and you take your prescription thing off, or you don't have it in the bottle, and you get caught.
You can have Oxycontin, has fentanyl. You can have Vicodin.
But John, go ahead and
has
say what you wanted to say for a
fentanyl.
minute.
You done made me
Oh,
forget about
you got to learn to keep the thought, bro.
Keep your
no,
thought
no,
up, baby.
you hit so many points. For one, I was thinking about well, let me think, because you hit so many points.
So okay, well, John,
Listen. You can have Vicodin that has fentanyl. You can have Oxycodone that has fentanyl. You can have certain other pain. What's the other one?
Percodance.
Percodance. All those got fentanyl in it. Now it depends on how much.
Well, fentanyl is a legal pain drug.
They're trying to make it illegal in Ohio now.
No, it's against the law because they're abusing it. But what I'm saying, John, is that it's a legal drug. It was never labeled a dangerous drug.
Y'all got to
Okay,
understand that.
so the governor just signed a law Wednesday into effect. Okay, let me grab that law right here because this is where.
I know what I was thinking about. See, you were
Go
saying,
ahead.
Okay, you're an employer, and I don't think it would be much of a difference. It depends on the employer. If I want to hire somebody with a drug offense, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony,
But
it still shows up. No.
right, it still shows.
up.
Yes, it
So
still
you're like,
shows
okay,
up.
he got a problem with drugs.
But this is the problem right here.
So you're saying it's going to be a difference for it being, like you said, a felony. It could ruin your life. I know people who have major drug dealers who are here living very good.
But John, we talked about that last week. That's far and few. I've talked.
It's not far and few.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it
is.
is.
I talked to brothers.
for y'all, no.
I talked to brothers from
It's far
FinPac.
and few.
Wait a minute. I went out because when you said that last week, that's why I went down to FinPac. Okay, you have 1,300 males, black males and white males, 1,300 re-entering the community monthly. Okay, we have over close to 60,000 prisoners in the state of Ohio. Out of that, John, half of them cannot find employment. You may find you have some that got their education that going into jobs that like everybody's not like the city of Cleveland is hiring felons or have programs for felons.
But you know what? It's first of all, I mean, see, you go always go to the statistics. That doesn't mean it's always correct though. You can go like on sports,
Right,
you can
but
look at certain things like that.
but that's all you got.
But okay, I know a lot of guys can't get a job, they can't tie a tie.
But-
Little things like that. It's not always because of the felony.
But we're talking about fellas. If
Yes, I know.
if the average black male get a felony, his life is very, very difficult to overcome that hill. Okay? Now, I'm not saying he can't overcome that hill.
It ain't gonna be
I'm
easy
not
as
going
it
to
is
say
for a
he
white
can't, but
man.
it locks him out because guess what happens? You want to be a fireman. You can't be a fireman except nowhere in the city of Cleveland. Okay? Because in any other civil service position, it precludes you from becoming a fireman or even a city employee if you have to be bonded. If you have to be bonded and you have a felony, they're not bonding you.
Right.
And if you have high misdemeanors, they're not bonding.
Especially got theft or anything. on
Okay.
their record.
That's what I'm saying. If you have a misdemeanor with theft or drugs, that's still the same as a felony.
Well, yes,
They definitely not gonna
but
bind
John, this is the difference where issue one come in, and this is where I understand what you're saying, but this is where the point comes in, where the rubber meet the road. Most drug offenders, okay, is getting felony 4s and 5s, okay. Half of them are going to jail, okay, and spending long sentences for being a sick person, because using drugs, you're sick. You need help, okay? Your counterpart is already being sent to rehab and is already not facing criminal charges.
For the same crap.
And I'm going to give you another statistic right here. And you say statistics because you know I go out and look. Look at the statistics right here. The city of Euclid is almost 70% white. Okay, 70% white.
Is that including the Hispanic?
Everybody. That's including everybody. There's 30% minorities in there, so you can pick whatever minority you want.
Okay.
But their drug arrest is 100, almost 99% minorities. Okay, so that lets you know right then that minorities are not on a fair playing field.
You can't say that.
I can't say that because their arrest record speaks for it.
Exactly, and these laws has been written to keep the.
I'm gonna ask you a question, Tom. They're a little bit older. I'm in between. They call you the millennial.
The high yellow millennium.
The white boys you know that dealing drugs, and I don't know how many you know. Can you tell they sell drugs? These black men in Euclid, you could tell what they out there doing.
But that's not the issue.
No. Because you're gonna get pulled over no more. If you're a cop. If you're more conspicuous, I'm gonna look at you more.
But not at that rate.
Well, let me answer your question, Jay. Let me answer your question,
Right.
Jay. So if you remember, this go way back, like this none of this shit new. So if you remember the stop and frisk laws, the big hoopla they made in New York City about that a few years back, and who was the primary targets of stop and frisk? Blacks and Hispanics, blacks and browns, right? And they were if you get inadvertently stopped and frisked for no good reason, you got a gun or drugs on you, going to jail. The statistics, all of the information indicated this. You know, white people weren't getting stopped and frisked at the rate black people were. And I posted this on Facebook however many years ago.
Yes,
that was. The white dealing dope boys, they feel like they can breathe easy because they know they not as likely to get stopped. They're not as likely to get searched. They're not as likely to get sweated.
And that's true.
I've cut in Euclid.
That's true.
And you know how long I've been in that area. I don't see white boys walking around. I don't really know no white boys that really sell drugs.
Because you're not out there.
No, I am. I know all the black dudes.
No, listen, John. I'm talking about as a law enforcement officer. See,
you're not in the suburbs.
See, this is the difference. What you have to understand, John. Don't go into the first person, okay? Because to understand what the Euclid Police Department does, you either have to be a police officer and be a part of it,
Euclid, yeah,
or you have to go on the statistics, okay? And statistics says that a suburb that is 70% white, all of their ticket goes, all of their citations and red light goes to minorities, okay? Spitting on the sidewalk tickets to minorities.
I can believe that. I'm not talking about drug victims. I can believe that.
It's happened.
And you could go down the line.
It's happened.
Okay? It's just like if you go into a Cleveland suburb, okay, or you go into the city of Cleveland and you go to the west side. The west side is my minority white now, okay, and was then. It's changing a little bit. But when you start looking at the 2nd district and the 1st district tickets, it's all to minorities. So that means those tickets and everything's telling you that these are the people that's getting the tickets. These are the people that's getting warrant of scent.
Now, in the 2nd district area,
I'm talking about drugs.
But listen, in the 2nd district area, the majority of that community is Hispanic. The majority. So
with all that, I'm talking about the drugs.
And I'm looking, but John, you're like I said, when you're not enforcing
half of the old folks, half the 50% of the people the white
to what?
Are old.
No, they got. John,
no. I'm saying
there's a mixture.
It's a mixture, but most of them are older.
See,
most of them are older.
You're trying to apply. This is the problem. You're trying to apply what you see and what you touch and everything.
We
That's why.
dealing with
That's why we have
statistics
to
right
get
now.
out of first
But
person.
you got to look at the statistics though. If you have no that many young white people in Euclid, of course.
If the city's 70%, John, I don't care. Everybody, even old people, use drugs. If you look
Yeah,
at,
of course they do. Of
if,
course they do.
if you look
I'm
at the
not saying-
wait a
I'm
minute,
not saying
wait a
they
minute. If you
don't.
look at the Cleveland police arrest record, for drug abusers and felony felony drug laws, half of them are not for trafficking, and half of them are people coming in from the suburbs. Okay, you look at drug court. Half of them are coming in from the suburbs.
That's what I was saying. If you go out in the suburbs, you will see a white drug dealer.
But and if you and
Well,
John,
I know they're out there. I know. I used to be in the
right,
streets.
and
Just
John,
like y'all were. We were on the different sides of the law. I used to be in the streets.
right?
So
But
don't tell me I know.
wait a minute.
You know
But what I'm saying, John, is
I
that
had a warrant in Euclid.
wait a
went
minute,
to
John.
jail.
Wait a minute, John. Hold up. Don't
See, nobody- I can't-
don't
I
tell
can't-
Mary.
that's why I
Don't
can't
tell
talk.
Mary. Wait,
Because I'm not gonna
no,
thought. You cut me
wait,
off.
you telling America too much information.
They about to run you right
Right.
now.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
They on the computer right now.
Slow back for a minute.
I'm cool. I ain't worried about that.
No,
I mean,
no,
I'm not gonna
we're
come in
not worried about that, but we can't be in the first person. We
Yeah,
can't be in the first person.
Uncle
Keep it general.
Sean trying to
Keep
protect
it
you right
general.
now. Uncle
You can't
John
be in the
trying to
first
protect
person.
I'll respect that.
Uncle
but
Sean
I'm just
protect
saying.
you.
So when you go back to this issue one, what issue one does, and I want to stay on issue one and keep it back in. What issue one does, and I understand what John's saying and everybody else, but issue one makes sure that everybody's on an equal playing field. That means if I get stopped with drugs and Tone gets stopped with drugs, we all get the same treatment. Okay?
In theory. So
No, that's what.
Hold on.
Wait a minute, hold on. It's not. Wait a minute. It's not in theory,
you said
Tone.
everybody's gonna get the
But I
justice,
ain't
right?
passed it to you yet. Just calm down. See, this is what I'm saying.
All right.
See,
No, you ain't even. All you heard was 2 words that I said. So you don't even know what I'm about to say
I know
yet.
what you're about to say.
No, you don't.
I do, and I'm gonna tell you what you're about to say.
I
Because what
I
you
love
said,
Tone Snow. I love
what you saying is this: when issue one setting the playing field, you saying in theory. It's not in theory because it's a constitutional amendment, which
It's
means
a lot of constitutional
No.
amendments that get abused and
No.
misused every
no,
day.
Tone. See, this is the problem right here, Tone. Stop right there. Let me pull you back right there. Because see, we're talking to people across the country who's listening to us on an issue.
Okay. And all they heard me say was 2 words.
Right,
So they don't.
right.
So you ain't even let me say what I was going to say.
No,
first.
I want to bring it back. In theory, okay. We want to keep it to see. This is the problem. We want to keep it to
Sean finally
actually
jumping on somebody
what,
else instead of
what
me
is
for a
going
change.
into instead of we have enough people putting false things out there into people's head. Okay, a constitutional amendment means that if I'm a judge, okay, and you're standing before me, and the Constitution says Tone must get probation and go to treatment, you can't send him to jail. There's no in theory about it. I can't send you to jail. Okay? That's what the judges are yelling about. That's not in theory. That's concrete. If the Constitution amendment says, Tone, that the Cleveland Police Department cannot charge you with a felony, but must do a misdemeanor, they can't come back and put a felony on you. That's not in theory. That's a conflict fact. But go ahead. I'm gonna give you a chance to tell me about your in theory.
So, okay, just sticking to this issue one thing.
All right, go
Right.
ahead. Go ahead.
So
That's what I'm talking about.
My personal opinion is that it's a good thing. Okay, we need issue one. It's a start. It's a start because the war on drugs has been a failure. The war on drugs has been a waste of money for decades and decades and decades. Sending people to jail ain't helped. It has gotten worse and worse. It went from crack and all the drama and trauma we seen in the 80s and 90s to this epidemic with a record of death-related drug overdoses and things that's going on. So we need some sort of a change. I say in theory because I don't care what the law says. There's always the judge always has discretion, or they always have what's the word? They always have a scale. They always have a scale to apply their punishment, their justice. Okay.
And this is where I go back to because we know people in America. Tony Stone didn't do his homework because when you say in theory, issue one tells a judge he has no discretion. He has no scale. He has no opinion.
And that's what the lady said.
Okay, so listen.
The Supreme
you gave a perfect example earlier. Somebody caught with 20 grams of fentanyl, hypothetically speaking. Probably nobody be caught with that.
Right.
Okay. So you're saying that a junkie is not gonna get caught with that. So if somebody is caught with that, they have to be a drug dealer. But if they're not caught in a transaction, you can't charge them with making a drug dealer. You're telling me a judge won't have the discretion to say either this goes one way or the other?
No.
If it's a written law, no.
No.
So 20 grams of fentanyl.
Less than 20 grams. Less than 20 grams. Say it correctly.
19 grams.
Okay.
19 grams of fentanyl.
That means you get charged with a misdemeanor drug abuse charge.
I don't think it's gonna go like that.
Sean,
I don't think it's gonna go like that.
That's the law.
I don't think it's gonna go
that's
like that.
the law.
I don't think it's gonna go like that.
Don't say it like that, though.
No,
that's the law.
I don't think it's gonna go like that.
That's not true.
Wait a minute. It is
This is
true.
why I had a problem.
No, we see that.
John,
we see that all over
if
America.
John,
Thinking of the law, it don't go down.
John,
they come around that.
No, John. If issue 1 passed, that's why if y'all would have listened to the Supreme Court judge,
They was talking.
that was in the beginning.
She was saying the same thing.
She said. She told everybody in America, and everybody in America heard them, that if a person get caught with less than 20 grams, now it's a felony.
20 grams of what?
Of fentanyl. We're talking
because the judge I heard she didn't specify.
She said
fentanyl.
Yeah, she
okay,
did. She
well,
said fentanyl.
Okay, I didn't hear that on your intro. A white judge, an Ohio judge that I heard. I seen on TV, as a matter of fact. She said 20 grams. She didn't specify fentanyl.
Well,
she said 20 grams of drugs, period.
Well,
so if you're talking about weed, yeah. If you're talking about something
we're not
else,
talking about drugs.
fentanyl.
We're talking about dangerous drugs. Weed isn't classified as a dangerous drug.
Okay, I missed that. Okay.
So what I'm saying is this. Let's get this correct right here for the whole panel, so everybody know what we're talking about. If issue 1 passed, I don't care what it is. Okay, I don't care how it is. As it is right now today, if the Cleveland Police Department stop you with 20 grams of fentanyl, they will charge you with a felony 3 or a felony 4. You will go to jail for 7 to 10 years. Okay, period. 7 to 10 years jail time. If you get caught with a crack vial in your car right now, just the glass, just if you break a pen, if I break a pen right now and take a lighter and heat it up and get in your car and drop it on the floor, you can be charged with a felony drug abuse charge.
She says such as fentanyl, heroin.
She goes, that's dangerous drugs.
It's a whole list of stuff. Yeah,
dangerous drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. And 20 grams of fentanyl, they say can kill 20,000 people. Okay.
That's just one drug. You got 20 grams of
heroin. We talking about here fentanyl, John. We talking about dangerous drugs. That's every type of drug there is. Okay.
I find it hard to believe that they're going to allow that the law to be written down in the books that somebody can be caught with 20 grams of fentanyl.
That's the way the law reads.
And walk away with a misdemeanor.
That's the way the law reads.
And that's
Did
why
you read
I
the law?
I had a problem. I had a pro and con to
Wait a minute. Hold it. Let's stop it right here.
That's one of my
problems. Let's stop it
there.
right here. Hold on. Me and Saxman going to take over the thing for a minute.
Yeah, that's one of my.
Yeah, I read it. As a matter of fact, I read it this Saturday. I was also on a panel. I was a judge for something. For criminal reform.
So when you read it, that is the way the law is. They can't change it. It's a constitutional amendment.
But what you're feeling is, but what I'm saying is, there's the discretion. If somebody's caught with 20 grams of fentanyl, they're not letting them walk away with a misdemeanor. They're going to be charged with a drug. They're going to be charged as a drug dealer.
That's if they're caught trying to sell it.
The judge is going to have that discretion. You can't tell me the judge is not going to have that discretion.
The law says it can't. Read the law. It says
you can't tell me the judge is not going to have that discretion.
He don't have the discretion. Listen, he doesn't have it. I'm telling you to go back and read it. Pull your phone up.
I already read it. Okay. I'm telling you,
plus the lady on the plus the lady that was on the radio said that it takes away the judge's powers to be
a constitutional
amendment. She said it.
Wait a minute. This is the problem right here with everybody not learning.
I listened
learning
to
the difference between legislation that is passed by legislators and senators and congressmen. Okay. Versus constitutional amendments. If you go back to what Trump said today, to get you in the proper order, Trump said he was going to cancel birth rights. Okay, You cannot change a constitutional amendment unless you take it before the people. Okay, and under the United States Constitution, you can't change it unless the states do it. You get so many people of the states. Okay, so when issue 1 passed, that's written into the Constitution of the United into the state of Ohio that says if Tone get caught with less than 20 grams of fentanyl or any dangerous drugs, he cannot be charged with a felony.
Come on, Sean. You a 30+ year
What I
veteran
just
of
tell
law
you,
enforcement. Listen.
stop. Wait a minute,
Hold
stop
on,
right
I
there.
got a question
Okay,
for you.
go
I got
ahead,
a question
go
for you.
ahead, go ahead.
I got a question for you because you want to argue about the judge. It's not only about the judge. What if the police or the arresting officer writes up the
He can't do it.
What do you mean if he writes it up?
He can't
if
do
he
it.
writes up the report as this is a trafficker,
No.
how is that going to stop?
Because,
How is this law going to stop him from wording his report like that?
Let me show you how it's going to stop the great. Now listen to me. Okay, now listen to me what I'm saying. Okay. Only way you could be charged with trafficking. Trafficking is not a abuser, Tone. Okay. Trafficker is a person that's selling. So you have to be in the process of selling
If you
drugs.
got individual packages, it's individually packaged, ready for sale.
But it's in the process of selling.
In the process of selling. You caught with that, you're
There's
selling.
a difference. If
you got that much fentanyl individually packaged,
you're selling.
You a seller.
If
you ain't no
got
user.
that much fentanyl, period. You said it yourself.
Wait a minute. I said that, Tone, but there's a difference here. Okay. Okay. Listen. Wait a minute. Hear me out because you keep flipping. But hear me out.
I'm not flipping. My point is remain the same.
Okay. Just hear me out. To charge somebody with trafficking? Okay. To charge somebody with trafficking, one, the average police officer out on the street have to see you trying to make.
Come on, man.
Let's talk.
Come on, man. Come on, man. How many falsified police reports?
Okay.
Come on, you can't tell.
The law,
I done seen the courts change what was on the docket. I done seen them change what was on the docket.
Too, but Tone, listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. That is a case where a police officer would say that you're selling. I'm not gonna say that he won't say you're selling. But I'm telling you, Tone. I'm telling
you saying according to the law, it's not supposed to go like that. But I'm telling you that it can and it will go like that.
But he's not.
Can I say something, Sean, real quick?
He's
I
taking it to
understand
a
what
new
you're
level.
saying.
But he's taking it to a new level.
Right. I understand what you're saying. If it's done correctly, without any underhanded shit.
Right. Okay.
And you taking it to a new level.
No, I'm telling you what the reality is.
No, the reality.
This has been the reality for as long as we've been alive.
Okay, and that's why.
So these people that oppose it, who vehemently oppose it, you think they not going to go to these measures? You think they not going to go to these measures?
Don't. But they taking it. Listen what you're saying.
Point too.
Listen what you say. They're charged if they're taking you to. First of all, they're not charging you for possession. Okay.
And like I said, I'm for issue 1. I'm just saying that it's not the end all be all. This is a beginning. This is a small step in the right direction. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
If you let us go through the issues, you would understand.
All these people who are against
love my told
issue 1.
I love my told.
Where were y'all at when they were passing these mandatory minimums for giving people a whole bunch of time?
Well, that's the past. We talking about now. We trying to make the changes now. This is the first step in making those changes.
Right. Tone, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying I'm wise enough to know that there's going to be some. There's going to be some.
I'm going on the line, Tone. Okay, I'm going on the line that the law enforcement officers are going to follow the law, and the judges are going to follow the law.
That's what I said.
Hopefully.
But if you go back into anything in the law, Tone, if I'm a crooked police officer,
you a crooked police officer,
and then I'm gonna do crooked shit,
right?
And everybody, it could be a murder charge. I can plant a gun on you.
I understand that, and that's all I meant by in theory. I'm not opposed to it. That's all I mean by in theory.
But I'm saying
it ain't no saving grace. It ain't no saving grace.
That's why I laughed, because I knew it was more to it.
We didn't say it's saving grace. Okay, it's a start, because what we're saying is wait a minute, hold on, John, back up. What we saying? No, you on mic. What we saying is, Tone, this is a start. We voted 3 times for our legislators to change mass incarceration, the drug laws, and everything else. They won't do it. You know why they won't do it? Because if they do it, then they have to give black people a break.
Right.
Okay?
That's why they just now coming up with this new
If you
law
listen
versus
to the
30 years
if you
ago when
listen
black
to,
people was caught up in this bullshit.
Right.
They weren't trying to get no treatment and help with us. They just wanted to lock us up.
But hold on, we got to go pay a bill. Hold that thought right there. Hold that thought. Everybody, hold that thought. Then we're gonna come back. But we're gonna go pay some bills. Everybody, hold on. You got a live mic. Hold your thought.
Because you can't talk about making a change in your community and you don't want to vote.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying change, stop with the vote. But I can go to places right now in this community that has been changed as a result of us being in office. So can't nobody tell me that voting don't matter. And our ancestors wouldn't have died for it or given their blood and their tears if it didn't matter. So even for the sake of, you ever been to somewhere and just because your grandma said you should go, you didn't even want to go. But you did it because grandma said. Like, voting is one of those things. If you don't understand it, you need to do it anyway, just for the sake of the fact that our people died for it.
Yes.
But the second thing is, politics affects our everyday life. That blinking light on your corner, the streets like feel like you're driving on the moon. What dollars goes into what schools? All of this stuff has to do with politics. So for those who are not involved, man, you'll get involved. Don't get involved too late though. You'll get involved when you have a cousin on the way to jail.
Oh, right.
You'll get involved when you want to figure out, what do you do about that police officer that treated you bad? You'll get involved then. Don't wait too late to get involved. When you need it.
Right.
John Legend is on his way. We're gonna have John Legend here with us. A lot of the politicians around the country come here. Ohio is a swing state. And Cuyahoga County is the most important county in Ohio. And Cleveland is the biggest city in Cuyahoga County. You can't win an election without Cleveland.
I came out a couple weeks ago and lit a fuse of dynamite talking about the fact that people died in our jail. 6 people died in 3 months. We have overcrowded jail. We have overcrowded jail primarily because some of us keep sending folks in jail for low-level felonies by putting bonds on they can't afford. That's just too much of a law. I guess y'all will. All right. How many y'all Democrats in there? How many Democrats? Whole lot. My Republican friends over there, so the Republican friends, they stepped up and howling about that jail thing. I expect the rest of you to join them in howling about that. So we got to do like that. Now, we elect people and we ask them to go down to Columbus to do stuff for us. And sometimes they don't do what we ask them to do and we get disappointed. Well, issue 1, if it passes, we ain't got to ask nobody to do nothing for us. Because issue 1 is about you. It's about action you can take to do something for yourself. The war on drugs was started by Richard Nixon, celebrated by Ronald Reagan, kicked in the high gear by Bill Clinton. And the result was the absolute destruction of our community. We have brothers and sisters, sons and daughters who are in prison today or have prison records for F4s and F5s, low-level felonies that's preventing them from getting jobs, preventing them from getting opportunities. And we have had legislatures for years to do something about it. From Washington to Ohio. You know what has happened? Nothing. Nothing. So I heard people say, people sending the money and the money. We don't care if the money comes from the moon to finance it. The important thing is on the balance. The important thing is, but then somebody says, you know, the constitutional amendment. If you got a son or a daughter that is burdened by an F4, F5, you don't care if the thing comes out of a Cracker Jack box. You want relief for your child. You want relief for yourself. You want these cases to be reclassified as minor as misdemeanors so that your child can get their record cleaned up. So that your brother can get his record cleaned up. So that your sister, from 25 years ago, being identified as something by some low-level felony, can get their record cleaned up. Now look, I'm not even going to debate the argument on the event. They're wonderful arguments. They're out of sight arguments. They're great arguments. But they ain't got nothing to do with you. continue to deny you the opportunity, you go that way. But if you want to have a chance to clean up your own stuff, to help people in your own community, to help remedy the problems in our own, to keep overcrowded jails from happening, we got to vote issue 1. It's a common sense constitutional amendment. And don't get hung up by the side show. Don't get hung up by the side show. It's going to destroy the court, it's going to overburden the court, people are going to die. Many of y'all are here, people already died. I talked to Sheriff Pickney. He had 3 nurses for 2,100 people. He had 3 nurses for 2,100 people. And that's 3 all together. That ain't 3 per shift, that's 3 period. I got 1 more minute. That's 3 period. He doesn't have enough guards down there. They have people on lockdown because they have nobody to watch people. And we keep sending people with low-level felonies to jail. It makes no sense. So I want you to do this. And Jerry's going to come up a little later on, I understand. I want you to make sure you tell people to vote for issue 1. It is a common sense amendment. Common sense amendment. And we have to make sure that our people are protected and taken care of. Vote yes on issue 1. Thank you very much.
I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. The governor of Pennsylvania and the mayor of Pittsburgh both say they will not join President Trump during his scheduled trip to Pittsburgh. President Trump travels to Pittsburgh today, 3 days after 11 people were shot and killed at a local synagogue. Funerals for 3 of the victims are being held today. This person does not think the president's visit is a good idea.
I think he should have not came today. I think he should have sent his daughter. I think he should have just waited until after everything calms down.
The visit comes 3 days after 11 people were shot and killed at a Pittsburgh synagogue. Kate Lederman is a congregant at Tree of Life Synagogue.
He's a purveyor of hate speech, and he is not welcome in my synagogue and in my city, to me. But today's not about him, no matter what. None of my days are about him. My days are about Cecil and David today.
She was at the funeral for brothers Cecil and David Rosenthal. More than 1,000 migrants in a second caravan forced its way across the river from Guatemala and have now begun arriving in a city in southern Mexico. The AP Sagar Magani reports President Trump wants to order an end to the constitutional right to citizenship for babies born in the U.S. to non-citizens.
The president says he's been told he can do it by executive order. Scholars on both the left and right say he does not have that power, and it would likely require a constitutional amendment.
James Whitey Bulger, a Boston gangster who was once one of America's most wanted fugitives, was found dead in a prison in West Virginia. He was 89. State police say a 9-year-old girl and her twin 6-year-old brothers were killed when a pickup truck struck them in northern Indiana when they were crossing the road to board a school bus. An 11-year-old boy, not a relative, was also struck and injured. I'm Ed Donahue.
Remember how the economic crash was supposed to be a wake-up call for our government? People all across the country lost their savings, their pensions, and their jobs. I'm Tom Steyer, and it turned out that the system that had benefited people like me who were well off was in fact stacked against everyone else. It's why I left my investment firm and resolved to use my savings for the public good. But here we are 9 years later, and this president and the Republican Congress are making a bad situation even worse. They won't tell you that their so-called tax reform plan is really for the wealthy and big corporations while hurting the middle class. It blows up the deficit, and that means fewer investments in education, healthcare, and job creation. It's up to all of us to stand up to this president, not just for impeachable offenses, but also to demand a country where everyone has a real chance to succeed. Join us. Your voice matters.
Women like me aren't supposed to run for office. I wasn't born to a wealthy or powerful family. Mother from Puerto Rico, dad from the South Bronx. I was born in a place where your zip code determines your destiny. My name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm an educator, an organizer, a working-class New Yorker. I've worked with expectant mothers, I've waited tables and led classrooms. And going into politics wasn't in the plan. But after 20 years of the same representation, we have to ask, who has New York been changing for? Every day gets harder for working families like mine to get by. The rent gets higher, healthcare covers less, and our income stays the same. It's clear that these changes haven't been for us, and we deserve a champion. It's time to fight for a New York that working families can afford. That's why I'm running for Congress. This race is about people versus money. We've got people, they've got money. It's time we acknowledge that not all Democrats are the same. That a Democrat who takes corporate money, profits our foreclosure, doesn't live here, doesn't send his kids to our schools, doesn't drink our water or breathe our air, cannot possibly represent us. What the Bronx and Queens needs is Medicare for all, tuition-free public college, a federal jobs guarantee, and criminal justice reform. We can do it now. It doesn't take 100 years to do this. It takes political courage. A New York for the many is possible. It's time for one of us. Vote for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness. Keep it 100.
STMK Radio 100.
Hello, Ohio! Before you can vote in Ohio, you've got to be registered. If you're not sure if you're registered already, you can check using the link in the description. But if you're not registered yet, or if you've moved or changed your name since the last time you voted, you'll need to fill out a registration form. If you have an Ohio driver's license or state ID, you can register online at the link in the description. But if you don't have an Ohio ID, you can still register by mail. You just print off the form using the link below and mail it to your county's Board of Elections office by October 9th if you want to be registered in time for the November general election. You can also pick up a form at your Board of Elections office, any BMV office, most social service agencies, public libraries, and high schools if you don't have access to a printer. Once you're registered, there are a few different ways you can vote. Any Ohio voter can vote absentee, and you don't even have to leave your house to do it. All you have to do is fill out the form linked in the description and mail it to your County Board of Elections office so that they get it before noon on November 3rd. Though the sooner you do it, the better, so that you'll have time to get your ballot in the mail, fill it out at your own pace, and mail it back or drop it off at your County Board of Elections office by November 6th. You can also vote early in person starting October 12th all the way through November 5th. This is a great option if you want to avoid voting day lines or it's easier for you to vote on a weekend. Check your County Board of Elections website to find the early voting hours and locations near you. If you really want that experience of voting on Election Day, polls are open on November 6th from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., and there's a link below to look up where you need to go to vote. You'll need to bring an ID with you, a valid Ohio driver's license or state ID, military ID, or a recent utility bill, bank statement, government check, or paycheck with your name and current address on it will all work. You can also go to the link in the description to look at a sample ballot that tells you everything you'll be able to vote for in your county. You don't have to vote for every single item on the ballot. You can leave things blank if you want to, but your local elections can be pretty important, so it's worth checking out what's on there ahead of time. You can even print it out and bring it to the polls with you so that you don't forget how you wanted to vote. One last thing. If you're going to vote, open up your notes app or grab a piece of paper and make a plan. Write down when and how you're going to register, what time you're going to vote, how you're going to get there, what ID you're going to use, even who you're going to bring to the polls with you. Having a plan is a great way to make sure that nothing unexpected stops you from voting on November 6th. All the links you need to check your registration and polling location are in the description. Thank you for voting.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com, then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone.
I dislike the term black-owned business because there's a stigma when you say black-owned business. We're the only race of people that is preceded by our race with the business, and it has a stigma. Most people assume if it's a black-owned business, you're not going to be professional, you don't accept credit cards, you are late, your product is inferior, your attitude is bad, customer service is going to be horrible, and all of these things are associated with a black-owned business. I prefer to just be called a business. I don't think it's necessary to proceed it with black because if all of the negativity is going to follow that term, I think it's best to just, I'm not targeting just one race of people. I want all, if you're going in business, you go in business to make money. And money is green. So I don't really, I've never seen any black money.
Hey, welcome back. Stop the Madness, keep it 100, free for all Thursday. You know, we was talking about issue 1, and Tone Stone got a little heated over there, but it's okay because our millennial really keep everybody straight.
Right.
But you know,
Sean, wait a minute. Can I comment real quick about what she said about black businesses?
well, you know what? I don't even want to touch that right this segment for one reason, because
who was that?
That was a well-renowned black restaurant entrepreneur, and we was triggered for something, and I don't even want to break that down
because that's deep.
We may go back into that.
Yeah,
but what I want to say is back about issue 1. You know, for all our voters, if you activists and everybody, you know, first you was crying about mass incarceration, and then you was talking about police accountability, stop and frisk, and all this. Issue 1 addressed that issue. Okay, it addressed it. As Tone was saying, it's not a fix-all for everything, but it's a start. Okay, we voted 3 times, and the state legislator don't even want to touch it. And I want to say this: a second chance for one person can mean a fresh start for a whole family. And I want you to think about that when you go to the polls. But Sex Man, I'm coming to you on the line of the police officers and the judges and the prosecutors and all them is doing all that fear mongering. So what is your take on it?
My take on the issue 1 is this. It's what that judge was saying, how it's going to give the addicts that's not looking for treatment excuse to continue on. And it's not going to help them at all. They're going to still be out there in treatment, and it's going to be a higher cost to the taxpayers because they're going to be getting treated 3, 4, 5 times a day. They're going to be getting treated Narcan constantly because they ain't looking for no treatment. And this issue 1 being lax on punishment is going to make them say, well, what the hell I need to go get treatment for?
But let me ask you this: isn't
no choice?
Wait a minute, John. Hold on. Let me ask you this: isn't that happening now?
It's been happening.
Isn't law enforcement officers, and I mean not law enforcement, but first responders and law enforcement officers giving the same person shots now? So what difference does it if it's happening now and we still putting people? Let me ask you this question. I'm going to go right here.
Okay.
6 people died in the Cuyahoga County Jail of drug overdoses in our jail.
In the jail.
In the jail. That's happening right now without issue 1.
How they get a hold of fentanyl in jail?
Okay. Now.
What? Come on.
Are we still? Wait, come on. Are we still going to put people in jail? You're talking about still arresting people and putting them in jail, and we got people dying in jail from drug overdose. So if that's happening now, what's the difference if issue 1 comes?
Okay.
Because the only difference is, I'm going to put you to serious note there. The only difference is, and I'm going to give John a chance. The only difference is that you won't have a felony. Okay. Because you will only have a misdemeanor.
That's the only difference. The only difference is you're going to still keep getting high, but you won't get no felonies or go to jail process.
But it's happening now, Sax Man. That's what I'm saying. People are still not doing treatment.
And not doing treatment.
Only a certain group is going to jail. Okay. Issue 1 is going to put it across the board.
So everybody gets the same treatment.
That's all we can ask.
That's what they're saying. Okay.
Okay. That's all we can ask. But John, what you think about it?
I think I just want to disagree with my man right here because I feel, first of all, you said they don't want to get treatment. You have to get treatment. So maybe
they're making it mandatory. They're making it mandatory.
Yeah. Maybe if they go in there like, well, you know what, I do like this sober life. You know what I'm saying? They'll change up. And I think I really agree with it because it does make everything even across the board. You can't, and I agree with Tone also that it's going to be some loopholes, but that's going to make them dirty because it's going to be the law.
Hear Tone.
But it's not. But see, this is the problem. What I'm telling everybody. Issue 1 is not the silver bullet. It's a start.
No, it's a start, and I love it.
But see, this is something that I want to bring to Tony Stone because you know what? Tony Stone said some things, okay, and I want to bring it back. The reason that the judges and the prosecutors in the state of Ohio do not want issue 1 passed, Tone, okay, I'm going to say this because it's a constitutional amendment, okay? It's profitable keeping young black males in jail, okay? Number 1,
exactly,
they're making money off of it.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Number 2, when you tell the judge this is what you got to do, you're taking their power from them, and they don't want to lose that power, okay? Number 3, okay, if you look at the equal treatment that's got to be done across the board. So tell me, Tone, I know you said that some cops is going to come out there and they're going to say, since I can't get Tone for drug possession, we're going to get him for trafficking. But tell me what you think.
That don't work. We're going to beat him.
We're going to beat him.
So like I said, I encourage everybody to vote for issue 1. I think the people who need help and who want help are going to get the help they deserve. They're going to get a second chance. The people who don't, who abuse it, they're going to end up in the same predicament they would have anyway. Okay, so that's where I stand on that. Like I said earlier, this is a first step in the right direction. You know, it's It's not a game changer. It's a first step in the right direction. We really need reform on these drug laws and criminal reform so that the people like these drugs are, like I said before, this war on drugs has been an ultimate utter failure. So why are we not legalizing these drugs so that the government can regulate how they're dispersed, how they are manufactured, how they can be taxed, people can have legal jobs, tax-paying jobs. You know, that's the direction we need to be going with these drug and criminal reform laws.
Do you want me to answer it?
Of course.
First of all, and you say legalize drugs. Well, it didn't stop the what was it, Arizona? It didn't stop the. I'm sorry. Forgive me for not knowing the right state. It might have been Colorado. I think it was Colorado. It didn't stop the incarceration of people, even though weed is legal in the certain places. People were still going to jail for weed.
Right, and you know why, John? I'm glad you brought that up. But you know why that is? Because of the enforcement.
The legislated laws that went along with it's okay to smoke marijuana. Right. They also implemented laws that was going to combat that. I always say this. Yeah. When you make a law to say, yes, it's okay, they're going to come behind and make another law and say, but if you do, this is what's going to happen.
It was always still a federal offense, no matter what the state did.
And that's what a lot of people fail to realize.
But issue 1 solves that problem. See, everybody don't understand this. Issue 1 solves that problem because the federal government is not going to come into the state of Ohio to enforce laws that our Constitution says they can't. Okay, they're going to do a task force. They're going to bring everybody in. They're going to be looking for drug dealers. Okay, this is the problem where I go back into abusers. Okay, and possession is not dealing, and I want everybody to get that in their understanding. Abusers are not drug dealers. Okay, they're users. Okay, well, they're abusing the drugs. But I want you to go back into this Tony Stone right here. Governor Mike DeWine.
Governor running for governor.
Running for governor. Mike DeWine.
Candidate.
And Condre. Who you like?
I can't tell you who I'm voting for.
I didn't ask you. I didn't say who you vote for.
Who you like.
I said who you like.
I don't like neither one of them because I don't know neither one of them personally.
Don't just got to be controversial.
That's not controversial.
I don't like neither one of them. I don't know neither one of them personally.
Okay, let me ask you this question right here. Okay, since you right there with your rebelness, grabbing it, Sax man, take your right here, Sax man. Well, you know you got that little thing, the Sax man thing. Who you gonna do today?
Okay, I'm gonna do John today.
Go ahead and take.
I'm gonna put John inside the Sax man studios. What I'm gonna
do that because I ain't been able to talk all day.
Because because
2 minutes.
He ain't been able to talk all day.
I get cut off in 30 seconds.
Hey, but no, John, we gonna get you on our segment for the Browns and the Cavs.
That's a good one, John. You say he ain't been able to talk all day.
That's because John don't do his homework. He don't know how to jump in there and hit toes. He don't know how to jump in there. Stick and move, baby. Stick and move.
I I'm about to. You told me not to. Then I just
like no. Shut up. remember last week he told John shut up.
That's up though.
I was like, damn.
Hey, somebody got to be the judge around here. They lose their power.
It's okay. I'm not mad because it's about time it ain't me, the victim. I'm always the victim. So
you know what? I've been noticing. Yeah, you been. Come on, man. What's up, man?
Okay, this is inside the Sax Band studio number 2. I'm going to ask you some questions and you answer them in the best way you can. Who's your favorite actor or actress?
My favorite actor, Don Cheadle.
Who's your favorite actress?
Actress? I gotta think about that.
No, you ain't got time for that, bro. You gotta get to it. I ain't sitting in your barber chair. Come on.
Next.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. What's your favorite place to visit?
The islands.
What island? Be more specific.
Because it's not the Bahamas. It's Mexican island, Cozumel.
Cozumel. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Pork chops or steak?
Steak.
Okay. Are you a pimp or a player?
Neither one.
It's hard out here for a pimp, baby. It's hard for a pimp.
No, honestly, neither one.
All right, movie theater or Netflix?
Netflix.
I heard that. Wine or Hennessy?
Hennessy.
I kind of knew he was gonna say Hennessy. What you look for in a woman?
Well, they all got vaginas. So I'm gonna want more the brain.
Okay, what's your dislikes of a woman?
Weave.
I know that's right. I'm with you on that one.
Fakeness. I just don't like fakeness.
Okay.
Fake eyelashes, all that. I mean, fake nails, that's cool, but all that, I don't like fakeness.
Okay, finish the sentence. If I was lost on a deserted island, who would I like to be with?
I ain't gonna say that for a search.
Say it, man. Say it. It's a question. Finish the sentence.
I can't say
Okay.
Whoever you want. No,
Come on, man.
I don't want to say that.
Hey, he don't want to get beat up when he get home.
Because you know that's what's going to happen.
No, it's not gonna get beat up.
I know who he was gonna say. He was gonna say Michelle Obama, wasn't you?
Man, no.
You got it. Yes, you do. You got a crush on Michelle Obama.
Well, text man, I take that question from him.
Okay, if you were lost on a deserted island, who would you like to be with?
How many people? I just got one.
Yeah.
Miss B.
Who was Miss B?
Don't worry about it. Everybody in land know.
Y'all love some
She said,
Beyonce. That's the same thing.
Oh, Miss Beyonce.
If you want the ring on, you should have put a ring on it, baby.
Oh, that's what you talking about?
Okay,
Man, you can't get my son.
Nah, Sean. What's your dislikes in a woman?
Who? My dislikes in a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Only problem I have, I love all my queens, but they got to be truthful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if they truthful, everything's cool.
What you look for in a woman?
Every quality that a woman has is good.
Okay.
There's no bad qualities in a woman.
All right, wine or Hennessy?
I don't drink liquor.
You lying,
so I don't have to worry about it.
Okay, wine. Okay, movie theater or Netflix?
I don't need to do that.
Man, okay, are you a pimp or a player?
Well, I'm an old times pimp.
Oh, okay, old time pimp.
I'm from the Himalayas. But right there,
No. Pork chops or steak? What's up?
I'm a steak man.
You a steak man?
Okay, that's why I go to Roof Chris.
I know. Okay. What's your favorite place to visit?
My favorite place to visit?
Yeah.
Paris, baby. That's where you take everybody.
I thought he said prison.
Paris, baby. But right there.
Wow. Who's your favorite actress?
My favorite actress?
Uh-huh.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Actress.
Oh, actress. Oh, I didn't hear that. I thought you said actor.
Okay,
so
so that's your actor.
Right, that's my actor.
And your actress?
My actress. Well, it goes all the way back down because there's a lot of them. I like Pam Grier. See, I'm from the old school.
I'm old school.
You had Pam Grier.
So you going on looks?
Foxy Brown, all that, baby.
Foxy Brown, and then if you come back up, there's a lot. Tiffany Haddish is doing her thing.
Angela Bassett. I love me some
Angela Bassett. I mean, there's so many that you can pick of the female. But everybody, that was Sax Man's corner. But we're going to go.
Inside the Sax Man studio.
You got to change the questions up, though.
I did change them up.
It was the same question.
But we're going to go right here. John, what's going on with the Cleveland Browns?
Oh, the hell with
them. They done fired the coach. The Cavs done fired the coach. Well, I knew the Cavs coach was going to get fired because he didn't have control of the team. But I thought they fired the coach back in March when LeBron left.
They should have fired a whole goddamn squad.
John?
He should have got fired.
Coming to your mic, John.
Okay, Ty Lue should have been got fired.
Yeah.
Man, first of all, you don't know basketball, but anyway. No. That's the reason. That is the reason Kyrie left.
Tell us.
That is the reason.
No, Kyrie left because of LeBron.
No. See, you're wrong. You don't know your
Again?
information.
Hold up.
And I was listening. I was listening to a conversation.
Go ahead.
And he said it. That's why he's so happy to be in Boston, where he could run a set offense. Lou let LeBron. That was plan A and B. LeBron pushed the rock. And I didn't even know. LeBron didn't even practice with the team. He should just come in and shoot jumpers. He had no control, and just do his own thing.
Man, come on now.
So
ultimately,
I'm not gonna sit here and lie.
Ultimately, listen.
I'm going by what Kyrie Irving said.
I hear you, but ultimately, it was because of LeBron, because he was mad because Ty Lue didn't take control, but that's because he couldn't take control of LeBron. LeBron did what he wanted to do, and that wasn't just Ty Lue's fault. That was the whole organization's fault.
So
no. It's the organization's fault, but they put Ty Lue in. They made him a coach. First of all, if things have a pecking order, you have the owner, general managers, coach, then players.
But the
so
coach,
hold on, no.
You think Ty Lue held more sway than LeBron? No way. Okay, then. There's no way.
So it's out of order. Anything it's out of order.
LeBron was the meal ticket. There.
No.
It wasn't about in LA where LeBron might not necessarily be the meal ticket. He might not be the king. He won't have that same sway. He may not. I don't know. But in Cleveland, everybody was watching those games. Everybody was going to the queue to see LeBron. They was winning because of him. So it wasn't nothing Ty Lue could do about that.
Well, hold on. We're gonna ask this question right. Hold on. We're gonna open up the phone lines. Hold on. We're gonna open up the phone lines.
That's why LeBron left Miami.
Okay, Jay. Oh, hold on. We're gonna open the phone lines up.
All right, now listen. I got somebody on the phone. I got my boy Heavy D on the phone, and Heavy D is gonna say the same thing I said. Go ahead, Heavy. Tell him. Heavy, you there? Put my mic up.
Your mic is up.
You sure my mic up?
Yeah.
Say it again, man.
Your mic up is it might be the headphones.
Put it on speaker.
Hold on, let me put it on speaker.
Yeah, put it on speaker.
Okay, I'm on. You on speaker? Can we hear you now?
Yeah, I can hear you. What were we talking about?
Right there, Heavy. Let me ask you this question, Heavy. Relay it to him. Heavy, why did Ty Lue get fired?
Why did Ty Lue get fired?
He can't hear you.
He got quiet.
Okay. No, he couldn't hear you.
Because he what?
0-6.
0-6. Oh, he said that's why Ty Lue got fired.
But they knew
0-6.
But they knew the Cavs was going to go 0-6.
They knew the Cavs was gonna go 0-6. Is that correct?
You sell it to the fans a lot easier, and he 0-6 than telling the truth.
Ask him what's the truth, because LeBron left.
Well, you don't stop the madness, keep it 100. Give us the real deal.
They cleaning house because LeBron left.
The bottom line is the coach of the team gone to the Lakers.
Right.
Exactly. But you know what? I said that I thought they fired the coach a long time ago when he went to the Lakers. Okay.
The coach of the Cavaliers is with the Lakers and they're wearing number 23.
Okay,
exactly.
So Heavy, let me ask you this question.
That's a dysfunctional.
Wait a minute, but
it's dysfunctional because the coach, a player, is not supposed to run a team.
That's good dysfunction though, because they made it to the finals 4 years ago.
I don't know how many we win though. That's Cleveland's problem. You're such mediocre. You won one final out of 4 final.
How many teams is it in the NBA?
No. Listen to me. Right. That's people are so happy.
How many teams in the NBA?
No. People are so happy to be living mediocrity.
Okay,
especially here in Cleveland.
Hold on,
they're just happy to be there.
To go to the championship is mediocrity?
To not win it?
They did win one, but they go 4 years in a row. So all the other teams is what? If that's mediocre, what's all the other teams?
Listen to me.
Heavy answer that.
It don't matter. It doesn't matter if all the other teams only one champion.
Okay,
if you go every year and don't win, you might as well be winning.
John, we only got one.
They played a better team.
Tom, hold on. So we only got one champ, but
The thing is, we talk about every other team. You take LeBron off the Cavs, they ain't nothing. You take the best player off of Golden State, they steal something. You take the second best player off of Golden State, they steal something. You take the third best player off of Golden State, they steal something. They got a team concept.
Say it again.
So Heavy.
A team concept. What they need to do is
exactly a team concept.
Same man that built Golden State, that Steve Kerr taking credit for, is who you get. And that's who they should have got before they got Tyronn Lue. If they wanted to destroy Golden State, you find out who built it.
So my dude.
What's wrong with your car? Take it to the manufacturer.
So Heavy, ask me this question. So since you got that one, what happened to Hughes with the Browns?
Come on now.
In 3 years, this man won 4 games.
Bottom line. You gotta ask that question.
He won 4 games in 3 years. Come on.
So why not fire him in the beginning of the season? Why you let him start the season?
I'm gonna tell you, this is what my belief is that they pushed so many players on Hugh Jackson, and the game plan was to to tank, that they had to honor it because it was like, we know we gonna tank, but take the ride, we ride with you. But when you get bickering between the offensive coordinator and the coach, remember a while back when who was the two clowns that got fired before? They was arguing and bickering amongst each other, and then Jimmy Hallen's wife came in and was like, "You making us look stupid," and she fired him.
Or no, the people from what was the Green Bay's coach name?
What was the what was? Oh my God, I can't think of it. Oh God, he was an announcer now.
Right.
But I mean, the last general manager and the president of operations for the Cleveland Browns 3 years ago.
I can't remember back that far.
Me neither.
But the chat room will tell us, so we'll find out. So let me say this right here. What's up with LeBron's and the Lakers? Where you think they're going to be at?
LeBron, he got a rough ride. With the Lakers. I don't know where they. I mean, they in the West.
Okay.
They in the West. It ain't the East where it's going easier. They in the West. It's a lot harder. And if one person get hurt that's helping them out, they done. They toast. And then LeBron talking about, you don't want to see me when I get upset. Come on now. I'm with you, LeBron, but you was really never that tough guy.
Oh, well, now, did you see?
What he going to do is leave. That's what he do when he get upset.
He's going to leave. He's going to lead the Lakers.
No, he's going to leave.
You don't want to see me when I get upset.
But let me ask you this, Heavy. The fight between Rondo and PC and Chris Paul. What you think about that?
Man, when somebody, if he accidentally spit on him or he purposely spit on him, he did what he's supposed to do. It's beyond, I know he's president of Players Basketball Association, but they never did like each other.
But
Rondo made a point to come to him. He made it a point. Now, I get what Rondo's saying, that he had my mouthpiece in my mouth, and I was saying something, and something came out. I had my hands down, but, it get to the point, man, I don't like you. You don't like me, and you accidentally or purposely spit on me. Bing.
But that was building up by the referees missing a lot of calls and a lot of hard fouls,
exactly.
and then calling it touchy fouls.
Chris Paul ain't no saint. When he knocked him out of bounds and threw the guns up like, yeah, I'm that man, and it just adds. It was a powder keg ready to explode. It was bound to happen.
Not from that game.
I'm surprised it took this long to happen.
That's the same thing Paul Pierce said.
So basketball has turned thuggish. That what you trying to say, Heavy D?
I ain't saying it changed. I mean, no. Because back in the day with the Detroit Pistons, when Rick Mahorn punched Mark Price in the eye because he was killing him, they was playing that. That's when basketball was rough. I mean, man, look at that. Bill Laimbeer. Oh, man. Come on now. They was fighting back in there. I mean, Rick Mahorn punched Mark Price in the eye.
So Heavy, let me go right in here because everybody want to know, where do you see this is a two-part question for you. We got brother Heavy on the phone, good sports extraordinaire commentary. He knows the great stuff. So where do you see the Cavs and the Browns finishing at this year, and what can we expect?
This gonna be good.
The Browns, they'd be lucky if they win 5 games flat out. The Cavs, they're going to be mediocre. They might make it to the playoffs as an 8 seed. And really, I really hate to say this. I don't want them to go to I don't want them to make it. I want them to get a draft pick, get in the lottery. And if they get they get a lottery pick, get a nice pick. They're going to get rid of they're going to dump some salary this year. And they bring in 2 more players. The Cavs got a nucleus to work with. Both the Cavaliers and the Browns both have a nucleus to work with. The Cavs, they got Larry Nance. He's good. You got Rodney Hood. Even Tristan Thompson is playing. He's earning his money this year.
But you know, we got the Cab hater here with us.
Yeah.
The Cab killer.
I'm not a Cab hater. LeBron destroyed the Cavs.
Well, he's not here no more.
Well, he's not here no more. He's gone.
No, but he brought these dudes in, like Larry Nance and them. So he will have a.
LeBron destroyed the Cavs.
He did. Like that's why. If you let me finish, that's why Kyrie Irving left.
LeBron did destroy the Cavs because all the time he was here, the time before, he never committed. When he came back, when you just staying up for 2 years, you can't bring nobody in to play with you because they don't know what you're going to do.
Heavy.
When you got everybody revolve around me, it bites you. And
Heavy.
Dan Gilbert knew that, but he had no other choice.
Heavy and John, let me just say this.
No, listen. Let you talking to us. Now listen.
The Cleveland like he did with LA, we'd have had some players.
Heavy and John, let me just say this.
No one wants to go to LA now.
Heavy and John, let me just say this.
That's why. Hold on, That's why.
Let me
LeBron
just say this. Let me just say this. If LeBron is the destroyer, that's the most beautiful destruction y'all have watched in y'all Cavalier watching lives. His whole career, whenever he was with the Cavs, especially the last 4 years, bringing a championship and taking the Cavs to the finals 4 years, that's the most exciting Cavs basketball y'all watched in y'all lives. So if he's a destroyer, that was a beautiful destruction.
Only thing I can say I haven't watched in life was the Cavs in the finals. But I used to be so aggravated with his play. First of all, he was not the way he was like bringing people in and not committing. We're gonna be cool for a few years, but this is gonna come. It's gonna be a drought.
Okay.
It's gonna be a drought. Think about the future, the longevity. You see, look at Golden State. Look at Golden State.
Oh, they an awesome team. They.
Well, I'm saying, first of all,
they've been an awesome team ever since I started back to watching basketball. Which I didn't. I
when
gave
was
up
this?
watching
When was this?
basketball. That was like about 3-4 years ago.
Exactly.
Years too now.
Exactly. Say it again. Thank you. Yeah. They had some real bad years, but they worked through it. Didn't nobody jump and go to other places.
They got it started in the draft.
That's why I started back watching the basketball game because it got exciting after a while. Before then, it got
Draymond Green and what's his name? West, not West. Is that his name? No, his name wasn't West. The yellow dude.
Klay Thompson.
Yeah, Klay Thompson. They wasn't even getting no time when they first came in the league. Now they're like the top two future Hall of Famers.
So Heavy,
they built and worked with their team.
So Heavy, let me ask you this question right here because they're asking this in the chat room. So let's go with this. Tell us in the West, where do you see LeBron finishing, and where do you see who's going to knock them out of the playoffs if they make the playoffs?
Good question.
To be honest with you, the Lakers will be the AC, and whoever they play gonna knock them out.
How many games?
6.
Oh, they gonna do it in 6. Okay. Well, Heavy, hey,
Can I ask you a question, Heavy?
Go ahead.
Do you agree with this? LeBron is an opportunist. All of a sudden, and everybody, he loves to play around people where they can say, well, he ain't got no help. He has plenty of help. The same team he won with Miami, the very same team, now he ain't got no help. They just won a championship with this team, but now they don't have no help.
So Heavy, is he opportunist?
He left here. He left here and came back. He saw Kyrie win in the All-Star game. He got the MVP. All of a sudden, you know what? I'm going to fulfill my promise to Cleveland. No, you saw that point guard there. And you saw Dwayne Wade getting old. That's what that was about.
Well, Heavy, what you think about that? We're gonna end with Heavy.
And he couldn't run it. Pat Riley wouldn't run it.
John, we're gonna end with Heavy on that note.
Y'all don't forget about the Browns. Y'all forget about the Browns now.
Okay, well, okay. So no, we want everybody want to hear Heavy. Everybody want to hear you answer John's question. Is LeBron an opportunist?
Yeah, right. Is it an opportunist?
Man, I hate to say this. I really hate to say this.
Say it, Hev. Go there.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, that's Heavy right there. Heavy, hey, we want to thank you for being with us, my man. We're going to get you back with us next week, and you're going to help us out.
Heavy, when I start my show, Saxman Show, you're going to be my sports commentary, okay?
Hey, man, and when y'all want to talk some religion, man, let's do this.
Some religion, no.
We gonna do some of that with you too. Also, that's
All right, Heavy.
that's our man Heavy. Call in on the telephone to be with us and give us our sports forecast. But you know, before we get off the air and we get ready to shut it down, I love my Cavaliers and my Browns. I guess I'm just gonna have to go through a hard season. So take my lumps. John is not a hater. He just do what he do. Okay, but I want everybody to say this. You know, we talked about issue one. Whether you for issue one, against issue one, go vote. Make sure you vote. Take care of your civic responsibility, because if you don't vote, then you ain't in the game. And you have to understand, voting deals with everything happening in your neighborhood, from who gets money, who get their street clean, how they get their trash pickup. And with that note right there,
fan base is big, I can't lose. Jigga bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes. So I was told, following the rainbow down the yellow brick road. Please believe at the end ain't no pie to go, just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Hey, right here in Studio 51, ATL, Savannah in the house, LA, Michael Wilkins, Florida, Chicago, up in New York, Jenny Williams out there running in Central Park. Hey, we'd like to thank you for being with us right here. And we're going to throw it over to our man, the Diamond Boy, Tone the Stone. What's up, Tone?
Another good show, Shine, Sax, John. It's always a good time here. Thanks for everybody out there listening across the nation, across the world, and especially those right here in the heart of the land. Y'all know what we've been talking about. Go out and vote. Do your duty. Can't nobody tell you who to vote for or what to vote for, but don't complain and don't nobody want to hear your opinion if you're not being a part of the process. And other than that, be right back here same time next week for another dope show. Stop the Madness, keep it 100.
Hey, as everybody tell me right there, and Russell Wilkins sending this to Sax Man and everybody out in the land.
Either you're part of the solution or goddammit, you are the fucking problem.
Hey, right
Either
there.
you're part of the solution or goddammit, you are the fucking problem.
Hey, in Studio 51, we got John J. Mack in the house from the shop. J. Mack, I know you do talk with a barber and all that. What you gonna do with us before we get off there?
First of all, I just want to appreciate y'all for tuning in to us. I want to piggyback off Tone. I don't want to hear no complaints on Facebook, social media, or none of that about what's going on and you don't vote.
Hey, Facebook Live, YouTube, Instagram in the house. We thank you for being with us. USTREAM, PLUT TV. We're live streaming. Thank you for sitting up with us. And we're going to our main man on the beat, Sax Man.
Did he say Poot TV?
PLUT.
Oh, PLUT. Okay, sounds funny, man. Thanks to everyone for tuning in for another fun-filled week of Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. Tune in next week. We're going to have some, tune in next week. That's fine.
Tune in tomorrow with us, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
8 to 5.
Hey, right there, everybody. You know what? As your host, sitting on the panels, we're going to be doing a lot of Oprah's out. We're doing a lot of campaigning and canvassing. Everybody go down and do early vote. Get out here. Let's show out at the polls. You want to protest at the polls. And I'm your host, as always, Chanel. I want you to know to be that change. Later.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio 100.